If you're still charging hourly for music lessons, you're not just undercharging, you're actually stuck in a model that's broken and outdated. A model that caps your income, it burns you out, and it makes it nearly impossible for you to build real freedom into your life as a musician. I know because I did it for years, teaching back-to-back lessons, both privately and in schools that barely paid enough to survive. If I wasn't teaching, I wasn't earning. Eventually, I made a change that gave me more income, more freedom, and better students without adding more hours to my calendar. It's what allowed me to build an online drum coaching program that brought in multiple six figures and gave me control over my time and energy. I was finally helping passionate and engaged students. I had more flexibility with my schedule, and I actually started to fall in love with teaching again. That change was coaching. So if you've never thought of yourself as a music coach before, that's a good thing, because this video is going to challenge what you believe about teaching, about pricing, and what students actually want from you. Let's break it down. Hourly lessons are what most musicians default to. Okay, you offer a weekly slot to someone, they show up, you teach, maybe you even charge a decent rate, $40, $50, or even $100 an hour. But here's the problem. You only get paid when you're teaching, right? If a student cancels, you're out of pocket. If you get sick or you want to take time off, your income vanishes. So you try and kind of pack your schedule, right? 15, 20, even 25 students, juggling your calendar, squeezing people in wherever you can. I just remember standing by the door watching one student leave and another one walk in, just hoping that I had like 5 minutes to breathe. By the end of the week, I was cooked. And that's when you realize the trap that you're in. You end up teaching way more than you actually want to. Not necessarily because you love it, but because you have to. You do it to survive. And in the process, the stuff that really matters, playing or writing or recording, all of that gets pushed to the side. And your calendar fills up, your energy drains, and even at full capacity, your income is capped. Because with hourly lessons, the only way to earn more is to work more. And because you're offering the same format as every other music teacher, a lesson slot for a set price, you start getting compared on one thing: price. And that's not where you want to be, because the truth is students don't care about your time. They care about getting better. Students don't pay for time, they pay for progress. Now, here's the part most musicians miss. Students aren't paying for your time, they're paying to get better. They want to play their favorite song. They want to finally understand rhythm. They want to stop second guessing themselves when they sit down to practice. Whatever the student's goal is, that's what they're paying for. But if all you're offering is a time slot, that goal can get a bit lost, because what actually drives progress isn't just what happens in the lesson, it's what happens in between. And this is what used to drive me mad. I'd spend 60 minutes breaking things down for a student in a lesson, thinking that they had it. Then they'd come back a week later and it was all over the place. Either they hadn't practiced at all, or they'd practiced it for hours, but they'd practiced it wrong. And because I wasn't there, they had no idea, and neither did I. They were in the dark, and so was I. That's the flaw in the hourly model. You teach, they leave, and you just hope that it sticks. But the real value isn't in the actual lesson. It's in the clarity and confidence that they walk away with. So when the student sits down to practice, they know exactly what to do and why they're doing it, and how to track their progress. And the more support you give them in between their sessions with their actual learning time, the faster they improve. That's exactly where coaching comes in. Coaching really flips the whole model. So instead of selling your time, you start delivering a result for a student. You're no longer just saying like, I teach drum lessons for $60 an hour. You're saying something like, I'll help you go from where you are now to where you want to be. There's a difference there, right? It's more specific and it's valuable, and it's something the students will actually pay more for because they understand what they're getting. If you don't know exactly what goals you're helping your students with, that's fine. I've actually put together a short guide that'll help you shape your offer and basically figure out exactly what results that you can provide for your students. It's linked down below. Now, once you've got that result locked in, that's when the coaching model actually comes in. When I started coaching, I still met with students, right, on Zoom. That was like the main session, but it wasn't the only touch point. Between sessions, they'd send me clips of their playing. I'd give them feedback on their practice videos. We had shared folders with custom exercises and resources. And if they had a question midweek, they could just drop a voice note or a WhatsApp message. They didn't feel like they were paying for lessons anymore. They felt like they had a coach, a partner, and someone in their corner. That's what coaching is. It's a system that gives students structure and clarity and momentum. And we'll go deeper into specifically what it looks like in a moment. But there's a key takeaway here that this model doesn't just help students get better results. It also lets you charge more because the value is higher. And that's what we're diving into next. So what does it actually look like financially? Well, instead of charging like $40 an hour, you charge $250, $300 a month, same student, same musical goals, but now they're getting real progress. I remember the first time I charged over $300 a month for a student, I felt nervous about it. Like I had to somehow justify it. But after the first month, that student told me, this is the most I've ever improved in years of lessons. And that's when I realized the old hourly model isn't just underpaying you, it's underserving the student. And here's the best part, you don't need 20 students to make it work. You just need a handful, 3 or 4 or 5 students who are fully on board. 3 students who are paying you $300 a month is $900. That's more than what a lot of musicians make teaching 10, 15 students hourly. You've got less students, you've got better outcomes, and you've got more freedom. So let's break this down properly, what the actual coaching looks like, because it really is a bit of a different beast to traditional lessons. When most musicians think of teaching, they picture one thing, a lesson. But that's just the delivery part of the information. And yes, obviously coaching is going to have that, but it's just one piece of a much better system. In coaching, there are basically 3 main components. Okay, the first is that session, is the delivery of information. And this is the part that's obviously the most similar to traditional lessons, but it does work a little bit differently. So when I coach someone, when we meet in that session on Zoom, the session is really focused around planning and clarity and direction, right? It's not just like playing through exercises. It's about setting up the students' week so they know exactly what to do when I'm not with them. Sometimes, obviously, I'll demonstrate something on my instrument, sure, but a lot of the time I don't even need to. And that's the beauty of coaching, right? It's much more flexible. I don't necessarily have to be sitting behind a drum kit to be able to give value. Obviously, if I want to send a demonstration of an exercise or something, I can, or I can do it later. I can record it and send them a short video. I might even send an example of a groove or a breakdown of an exercise that maybe the student is struggling with. And then they have that, they can watch it over and over again and pause it if they need to, slow something down, something that you can't do in a live lesson. So even though the delivery looks similar to teaching, the purpose is slightly different. It's not just about whatever we cover in the session, it's about giving them a clear, actionable plan that they can follow without second guessing themselves in the practice room. Now, the second part is the support that you provide in between the sessions. This is something, again, not a lot of people talk about when they sell you on becoming a music teacher, because in most sort of traditional setups, once the lesson ends, that's it, right? The student has to wait till next week to talk to you or see you again. And that's usually where progress stalls. And what I like about coaching is I check in with them, right? I follow up with them midweek. Hey, how's practice going? You know, if they've hit a wall or maybe they need a little bit of a nudge, I'm there. Sometimes it's just a quick message or a voice note, you know, a quick reply to a question that they might have. And sometimes it's just a bit of encouragement, right? When they're losing steam. And that ongoing contact makes a massive difference. It means they're not falling back into bad habits. It means they're not stuck spinning their wheels. And it also means that they're more likely to keep going with you because they know that someone's watching and supporting and holding them accountable. And the third part, and this is arguably the biggest value add of all, is feedback. So a really value-driven mechanism is I'll ask my students to give me videos of them practicing, not polished performance, but rough clips of them actually working through the exercises that I've given them, or maybe something that they've been struggling with. And that's exactly the point. Because when a student sends me a practice video, I get a window into how they're actually practicing, what they think is the right approach, and how they're interpreting the material. And you can get a sense of where things start to go off track as well. And that's where the real coaching happens. I actually use a tool called Loom, where I record my screen, record a video watching their video, and I'm able to give them feedback in real time of oh, okay, you definitely need to slow this down, or, you know, watch your left hand technique here, you know, make sure that you're not falling into these mistakes you've made in the past, right? But the point is, it's personalized. I can really get a good sense as a teacher of how they're practicing and give them feedback that they can implement immediately. It gives me crucial insight, because ultimately a student's results really come down to how they practice, not just what they practice. And that's a much deeper topic. I'll probably make a full video on that later. But for now, just know this, right? Better practice equals better results. And this kind of feedback is how you help make that happen. And honestly, most of my Loom students I film for my students are like 3 to 5 minutes long, right? But the impact is huge because instead of waiting a full week to fix a mistake, they get feedback in real time. And that keeps the momentum high and it makes them feel supported the whole way through. So just to zoom out again, right? Coaching isn't just about teaching better. It's about structuring the entire learning experience around progress. You give them the plan, you support the execution, and you refine it with feedback. That's what coaching actually looks like as a musician. And that's why it works so well. So maybe this coaching setup sounds like something you see yourself doing, but maybe you have some doubts. You might think that you can't charge that much for coaching. I used to think the same thing. But let me ask you something. Have you ever actually tried? Because most musicians never do. And the real reason isn't strategy. It's about our relationship with money. Most of us were never taught how to value ourselves as musicians. In fact, we were taught the opposite, that if you care about money, that you're greedy, that unless you're struggling, you're not a real artist. There's this unspoken rule in music culture that poverty is like noble, and it's complete nonsense. You can care deeply about your art and get paid fairly for the impact that you have. Here's the truth. You're not charging for minutes or time. You're charging for the result that your student gets. And if that student values the result at the price that you set, that's what matters. Not your internal guilt and not what you would pay for something. We've all made this mistake, pricing something based on our own wallet instead of asking, what is this outcome worth to the person who's getting it? And if someone finally enjoys practicing and they gain confidence on the instrument and they actually improve for the first time in years, they're not counting the minutes. They're just grateful that they found someone who could actually help them. It's not about ego, it's about impact. And that impact is worth charging for. Maybe you think that your students wouldn't pay that. I also thought that, and I was half right. The ones that I had before wouldn't, because I was attracting the wrong type of students. But once I changed how I delivered value, once I stopped selling time and started focusing on results, I attracted completely different students. The kind who wanted real progress, who took their practice seriously, and were happy to pay for the kind of support that actually helped get them there. This isn't about squeezing more money out of little Timmy up the road. It's about finding students who are aligned with what you offer, who have the goals, the mindset, and the financial means to achieve them with you. And when you teach online, you're not limited to your local area. You're not stuck hoping that someone down the street wants lessons. You're open to the entire world. These students exist. You just have to be visible enough for them to find you and confident enough to charge what you're worth. I know it's not what everyone else is doing, but that's kind of the point. That's the opportunity. Most musicians are still grinding away, charging hourly, competing on price, and wondering why they're stuck. The truth is that most of these musicians are broke and they're burnt out or both. So why would you want to do what they're doing? Coaching lets you stand out. It positions you differently from day one. You're not just another teacher offering time slots. You're a mentor with a clear path to real results. That shift alone changes how people see you. It signals higher value and it filters out time wasters. It attracts students who are actually serious. Hourly teaching drains you, right? You can't take a break without losing income. You can't raise your rates without risking losing students. And you definitely can't scale unless you clone yourself. Coaching changes that. It gives you more income per student. It gives you better student results. And most importantly, it gives you your time, your creativity, and your sanity back. When I made the shift to coaching, everything changed. I wasn't burnt out. I wasn't grinding through back-to-back lessons with students who didn't care. I had less students, I made more money, and I still had time to work on what I actually cared about in my music career. So if you're done trading time for money, if you're ready to move away from a model that's really underpaying you and overworking you ultimately and keeping you from growing, if you want to build a coaching program that actually helps your students and supports the kind of life that you want, that's exactly what we're building inside the Musician Freedom community. You'll get the training, you'll get the support and the systems to do it properly. The link's in the description, no pressure, go check it out. But if you're serious about changing the way that you teach, this is where you do it.